There's, of course, a Yorkshire derby as well, which should make this a cracker under the Friday night lights at Bramall Lane, and Sheffield United head into it in fine form, having got 3 wins on the bounce, the latest seeing them come from a goal down away at Swansea on Tuesday night. They look like they've properly turned a corner, Justin.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say turned a corner, but it was I don't think performances have ever wavered. They've always been...
They were looking a bit shaky. They weren't playing badly by any means, but they weren't playing as well as they were before, were they?
It's to be expected, though. I mean, results-wise, did suffer a bit over the festive period, but I think performances have all been at least sort of 6.5 out of 10 if I was to put a numerical value on it. They haven't really dipped and been really, really poor. And that's been a big positive, and that's why they're still up at the top of the table in the upper echelons of the Championship. And a lot of that you can point the finger at. They have a hell of a lot of injuries. They suffered significantly. Sheffield United have, and that's what we were saying in our midweek show. Look, we were suggesting that a lot of the teams that have been up there at the top of the table, like Sunderland, like Burnley, like Leeds, have all suffered significantly of injuries. But I think Sheffield United have suffered, a hell of a lot because they've lost forwards at key times, like Tyrese Campbell. They've lost pretty much most of their defence at some point as well. So, yeah, it's been a big old struggle for Sheffield United. But like you said, they've come out the other side smelling of roses, and that's a good place to be. Yorkshire roses.
Yeah. Okay, fine. You're right with the injuries. Whether they've suffered more than any of the other 3 teams up there is another debate for another day. But they've definitely had their fair share of long-term injuries. I mean, Harry Souttar obviously been out for the rest of the season. Ollie Arblaster's been missing for a while. Vinny Sousa's been out for a while. Tyrese Campbell, as you say, another one who's been out for a fair old while as well. So yeah, they've definitely been really struggling with people in the treatment room, but they've come out of the other end, as you say, smelling of Yorkshire roses. And they are, now that they've got players back in the team, and they're signing a few players as well, it's looking pretty damn good from a Sheffield United perspective. So they have turned a corner, and that's before we get on to seeing them with the deadly duo together up front for Sheffield United, Justin Cannon and Breur, as I'm going to call him, Ben Brereton Diaz, making his second debut on Tuesday after re-signing for the Blades on loan. And Tom Cannon could potentially make his debut in this game against Hull as well, after joining for a reported fee of £10 million. And I am quaking in my boots at the thought of those two together, Justin. I've got the jitters, and not the good kind. I mean, I'm quite scared of seeing what those two together could do to the rest of the division.
Yeah, I mean, you're not a defender having to face their movement. I mean, they're not a silky duo by any means, but when you're talking about movement and getting into good goal scoring positions and pulling shots off, they're more likely going to hit the back of the net because they're both very prolific, clinical forwards. Yes, you are right to have the jitters. You should be scared because, as I say, these players are too, whilst they're not going to dazzle and get you off your seat, they're going to get into good positions and really test you and get shots off that are really going to test your goalkeeper as well. So, yeah, it's a good position for Sheffield United to be in. As I say, I think everybody around Bramall Lane was waiting for this takeover to go through, and we're seeing not the rewards, but the good potential it's living up to. Signing Ben Brereton Diaz, I think, is a great signing for any Championship club. And then Tom Cannon's got the prospect of growing and developing as well, because he's still very much in his early 20s. So yeah, this is a good place to be for Sheffield United. It's a good selection headache to have going into the game. Keith Moore is obviously injured. Tyrese Campbell looked bright. Ryan Brewster got the equaliser against Swansea. Chris Wilder's got options coming out of his ears.
Yeah, he really has. And if you were to go through Sheffield United's team and kind of rank every player out of 10 this season, you would definitely say the front line is where they clearly have needed to strengthen. So the fact that they've now got that, plus all the other players they've already got in every other position, it's really quite frightening how Sheffield United could really take themselves up another gear with these two coming in. Because it's, as you pretty much hit the nail on the head with the assessment of those two there, Justin. They've got so much movement and they're very clinical in front of goal as well. So it's going to be frightening seeing those two together. I'm going to be fascinated to see how it works, because Sheffield United have gone with a 4-2-3-1 throughout the season. So I guess the most logical answer is Diaz on the left wing, cannon up front. Where that leaves Gustavo Hamer, someone who I would assume is too good to be left out of the Sheffield United team. We'll soon find out, but we'll see. It's a good problem to have, isn't it?
It's a great problem to have, because if you move Gus Harmer into a central position, which is where his best position is, fucking hell, Jesus, this is a terrifying thought. It's probably, from a Hull perspective, the worst time to play Sheffield United. I think defensively they're still looking a little bit threadbare, but still very solid. But all these options that Chris Wilder's got. Actually, no, on the other hand, it might be a good time to play Sheffield United because Chris Wilder's somehow got to piece it all together. But if you're looking for a man who's experienced enough to do it, he is the man. So yeah, what a time to be alive for a Blades fan. Incredible.
Yeah, they're looking very, very good, aren't they? Very promising at this stage in the season. But Sheffield United, as good as they have been, they can't afford to underestimate Hull City tonight, can they, Peachy? A Hull side who have improved since Ruben Sellés came in as manager. They're still finding results somewhat hard to come by, but there's been a clear improvement, hasn't there, with Hull City since Sellés is taken into the dugout?
Yeah, there has been a clear improvement under Ruben Sellés. Little bit of inconsistency, as you say, with results, but there's been, as I say, a clear uplift in what Ruben Sellés is wanting. They've been on the higher end of the scale under Sellés. I mean, you only got to look at recent results where they've beaten Blackburn, they've taken points off Leeds, they beat Millwall away, which is always going to be a tricky fixture. So there's been a variety of performances, even in the last couple of weeks, where their character has been tested, and this will be another one. Well, that will be the case, no doubt. But it is a stronger, more confident Hull side we're seeing under Ruben Sellés, and they've shown a lot of character in games to beat good and difficult teams, is to get results against good and difficult teams as well. So, yeah, you cannot afford, from a Sheffield United perspective, to treat that any differently from any other game. They won't do. Very professional side. We've seen that. Very streetwise team, Sheffield United. But this Hull side will sniff out any form of them being given too much respect, if you like.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on as well. You mentioned some of the fixtures they've had there. Some pretty difficult fixtures, actually, and they've actually still got some decent results on the board in that time as well. But they're looking like they've got a lot more fight, they're looking a lot more organised, certainly a lot more than they were under Tim Walter. So that's what Sellés can do with this team. And I think in time, they will start climbing away from the bottom three. Right now, there's still a long way to go and a lot can change in the final 18 games of a championship season, but I would be surprised if Hull were to go down based off the small sample size of what we've seen under Ruben Sellés so far. And it's also got to be said, they are very much looking like the favourites to be the busiest side in the championship this window. They've already made 5 new additions, including their latest new signing, the brilliantly named Lincoln Henrique, a Brazilian attacker who joins on loan from Fenerbahce. Monaco midfielder Elliot Matazzo is also joining on a permanent deal. And in the past few days, they've also been linked with Charlie Taylor, Lewis O'Brien, amongst others. So it seems like even when Matazzo comes in, they've still got more business to do. So you can't accuse them of not bringing in enough players, Justin.
I mean, they've been very prolific in the transfer window since Akinole Kali did take over. Look, the business of the window is much needed. I think everyone's aware of that. Injuries have been an issue. Quality of signings in previous windows has been quite poor. And of course, that massive onslaught of player departures in the summer with loan signings not being replaced, and obviously key players leaving as well, made this good Hull City squad from last season into a very poor one. That was without any succession planning either. They are playing catch up, which is why they've got to do this business in January, and probably going to be overspending a little bit as well. But if Ilakar is going to back it, he's going to back it. But they need to be busy. They need to improve their squad. Sellés needs the tools to push this whole side up, because I think on reflection, without Liam Miller and Mohamed Baloumi, them both getting injured earlier on this season, without them both, this is probably is a bottom 6 Hull side. So it really needs propping up with quality signings, and hopefully they're going to be doing that. I just worry about the recruitment strategy a little bit, Hull. It's a bit, it's a bit given a 12-year-old £15 million to spend on Football Manager. It's a bit chaotic.
I'm not sure about that, but it's certainly a bit, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks, that kind of approach, isn't it? Because I think I saw the stat on Twitter was that Matazzo, who's the Monaco midfielder I just mentioned a second ago, he'll be the 59th player who's joined Hull since Akinole Charlie took over the club in January 2022. and that averages out at around 8 players per window that Hull have brought in since Ilajali came in. So a lot of players to bring in just the space of 3 years. And it's something that doesn't seem to have worked out so far, considering the position they're currently in, and definitely needs to be calmed down a little bit going forwards. But they needed to sign players this window because, as you mentioned, they've had a lot of players injured, haven't they? So, yeah, it's a interesting transfer strategy, but we'll see if it pays off for them, Justin.
Yeah, we'll see if it pays off. I mean, I do like some of the signings. I think, going back to the summer window, Charlie Hughes was a good pickup, and I think Carl Joseph this window is a pretty decent signing. I think when you're signing players from overseas in January, it's always difficult. They've got to settle in very, very quickly. That's a difficult thing when when the games come in thick and fast, and you're in a winter period in the UK, which is quite brutal. But yeah, I think if you're going to back a manager to get the best out of them, it's going to be Ruben Sellers. And I hope that he's having some impact on the recruitment strategy this window, especially because, I think his input will be valuable.
Yeah, and it's now time for our second tier bet builder with SBK. And as you probably should be aware by now, with SBK, you don't just get an ordinary bet builder. They offer fresh legs once again. And that's nothing to do with Justin Peach shaving his little pins when he's in the shower. No, we are talking about fresh legs, which is when a player gets subbed off, your bet carries over to the player coming on. So think about it when you've had a bet on a player to have a shot and target a yellow card or a goal. It's bloody annoying, isn't it, when they get subbed off halfway through a game. Fresh legs means you are still going, no matter what happens to your player. And SBK are the only bookmaker offering this on every championship game this season, meaning there really is no better place to bet on the second tier. So sign up for SBK right now and join the thousands of people already taking advantage of fresh legs every weekend. On top of that, SBK offering a 25% boost on any bet builder for Sheffield United v Hull. Max stake £10 and T's and C's apply. So every Friday, Justin and I make our own bet builder with 4 selections all relating to our game of the week. 2 for Justin, 2 for me. Justin, kick us off. What's the first selection in this week's bet builder for Hull v Sheffield United, or Sheffield United v Hull, whichever way you want to look at it?
I've gone with Hull to have over 8.5 shots. I think this is a nice one. Hull are starting to come out of their shell a little bit. Quality chances are being created under Ruben Sellers. I think attackers as well are gaining confidence with the likes of Abu Kamara, Mason Burstow, Chris Bidio all coming out of their shells a little bit. And with that, a little bit more confidence going forwards. Shots are coming off. I think in addition to that, the numbers do back it up. There have only been 3 games this season where Hull have failed to have more than 8.5 shots. So for me, this is a tasty one. Sheffield United are very good at home. They are very good at keeping clean sheets at home. But Hull have shown that it doesn't really matter what opposition they come up against, they will get shots off against your goalkeeper.
Yeah, and you mentioned Sheffield United are good at home, but in terms of shots, Justin, they do give away a fair few. The away team has had over 8.5 shots in 7 of Sheffield United's last 8 games at Bramall Lane. Cardiff, Oxford and even Plymouth have all had over 8.5 shots at Bramall Lane in the last 8 games. Bizarrely, the only team who haven't done it in that time, Burnley. Yeah. Weird one. But Hull are a good side. And with their revamped attack featuring new additions like Matt Crooks, Joe Gellard, Cal Joseph, and the most random signing of 2025, Nordin Amrabat, they should have enough about them to keep old Michael Cooper on his toes in the Sheffield United goal. So I think this is a good pick, JP. Let's go to my first selection. It's Finley Burns to be carded. It's Ryan's card pick of the week. So here's my thinking behind this one. In each of Sheffield United's last 4 league games, an opposition centre-back has been carded. So, with that being said, I thought let's have a cheeky punt on young Finley Burns to keep that trend going. He's just a 21-year-old lad who's started Hull's last 2 games. Prior to that, he's only had 1 other start this season, so he's been lightly used. And it could be a tough old task for him to deal with the several weapons Sheffield United have. So that's why I quite like this pick to boost up the price a little bit, Justin.
Yeah, I feel like we've not had a card pick for a couple of weeks. We've had a couple of jingles, but they've been thrown out on other picks, which is absolutely fair. But I think when you adding in the prospect of Tom Cannon, Ben Barrington Diaz, Tyrese Campbell, there's a lot of flexibility in that forward line. Even Ryan Brewster, there's a lot of flexibility and movement in that forward line. So potentially we could see a cheeky missed time tackle cheeky professional foul from Finley Burns. If you're going to keep a close hand on those types of players. So yeah, good pick, nice pick, Ryan. Well done.
Thank you, mate. What's your next selection?
That was really high pitched. I've gone with both teams to score. I know what everyone's thinking. I know Sheffield United keep a lot of clean sheets at home. Stop worrying. Relax. Come on. A lot of low-scoring games involve Hull as well, apart from a 3-3 draw to Leeds. But I think that game probably points us into a direction we may go with this fixture. In fact, in games against Middlesbrough, Leeds, Watford, West Brom, Burnley, all teams that are chasing promotion in one form or another, both teams have scored, which tells me Hull might be able to step up here and bloody the nose of Sheffield United.
Ooh, yeah, I don't disagree with that. Just I think we pretty much covered it with what we were saying about Hull to have over 8.5 shots. I think there's been a fair few both team scores in games featuring these two recently, so it makes sense to go for this. So yeah, I will not disagree with that one at all. And our final selection for the Bet Builder is Sheffield United to win. Yeah, I started by saying I've been impressed by Hull's turnaround under Ruben Sellers. They're a lot tougher to beat. They've got a lot more fight about them and obviously very active in the transfer window. So in time, I do think they will climb away from the bottom three. But it is a big ask getting something from Sheffield United away. They have turned a corner with their form, have got the joint most points per game at home this season, and after a bit of a wobble, they are back on that horse and are looking to maintain that gap between them, Burnley and Sunderland. So they need to be getting 3 points here, really. Plus, with the potential double up of, what was I calling them earlier? Cannon and Burr. And boy, oh boy, do they have a lot of firepower. So yeah, this seems to be the safe bet for me just now. I don't think I was ever in doubt of going anything other than a Sheffield United win.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on this one. I think when you've got a team that are incredibly good at home, like Sheffield United are, who are top of the table, coming up against a team in the bottom three, you've got to side with the home team here, as well as that. Like I mentioned, Sheffield United's home record's ridiculous. They lost just one game this season at Bramall Lane, which was against Burnley. Very good side again in their own right. So look, we've got a team here chasing the top two against a team trying to push away from the bottom three. Yeah, home side for me.
Yeah, makes complete and utter sense. So our bet builder for Sheffield United versus Hull City is Hull to have over 8.5 shots, Finley Burns to be carded, both teams to score, and Sheffield United to win. A £10 stake on that returns £365 thanks to SBK's 25% boost. Bloody hell, that's a big price, isn't it? It must be the Finley Burns card which has boosted that up a fair bit. So yeah, if you fancy our bet builder, get involved. But if you don't, with SBK you can create your own bet builder from a range of markets. T's and C's apply, over 18s only, and please do gamble responsibly. Justin, let's have a quick break, then we'll get on to the rest of our predictions for this weekend across the Champo. Welcome back to the second tier preview show brought to you by SBK, and it's now time for us to have a look ahead to the rest of the games across the Championship this weekend, and that means Justin and I are going to pick our banker like we do every week, which is the team we think is guaranteed to win this coming weekend, as well as an outsider, so someone we think is going to win, but it's bigger odds with our friends at SBK than their opponents. We're tracking how we do as the season goes on. It's 1 point for a correct banker, 2 points for an outsider. Whoever loses has to do that forfeit, which is to be a mascot at an EFL game next season. And the current scores look like this: 28-22 to Justin Peach after a stinking run of form, which saw him win just 2 points from 4 preview shows. Justin Peach silenced the Boo Boys by getting a full house last weekend, and he is feeling very smug here today, ladies and gents.
Yeah, I made a passionate cry, didn't I, last week? And you diminished it. You rubbished it. You said, "Oh, he's running. He's nervous. He's shitting." No, I'm not. I'm completely fine. I'm completely calm. I'm completely confident. And going into this week, look, if you get 100% one weekend, you go into the next week. Yeah, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Where are you?
We'll see if he's saying that.
Where are you?
All right. I'm currently behind you. But
there you go.
We'll see if we're saying
You're
that.
behind me all season, son. All season.
Yeah, you're right, actually. But we'll see if we're saying that in a few weeks' time, because there's still a lot to play for, Peachy. Let's go to your banker for this weekend. What have you got for us?
He's bloody rattled. I've gone with West Brom to win at home to Portsmouth on Saturday afternoon. For me here, the big pull is Tony Mowbray's first official home game in charge and Portsmouth's poor away record. Starting with Pompey, they are scintillating at home, but away they're so poor. I've not seen a bigger contrast with teams in the last couple of weeks in any really championship season, where Portsmouth are so good and so prolific at home, creating chances, putting them chances to bed, beating good teams. And then they go away and they just fold. They conceded 33 goals away from Fratton Park and have lost their last 5 games. I am a tad nervous though, mainly because if you're looking at their home form, surely at some point it should start to blend into their away form. But that's where the Tony Mowbray homecoming comes into things. Feel good factor, high energy. Baggies being a tough side to beat at the Hawthorns. They've lost just once this season under Carlos Corberan, but Tony Mowbray's coming in and everyone's going to be smiling and happy. So that, for me, is the reason why I'm back in West Brom here to beat Portsmouth.
Yeah, completely fair, because it's quite astonishing how poor Portsmouth have been in comparison to their home form. I mean, you did mention just then how their contrast is bigger than anyone else. And people may say Plymouth, but that's because Plymouth have been shocking away from home, but haven't been great at home either. Portsmouth have genuinely been brilliant, amazing at Fratton Park, but appalling on the road. So it's a very strange turn of events, but whether that's something that's going to change anytime soon, I'm not sure. But it's certainly a good game for Tony Mowbray to get back on his horse with West Brom in his first official game back as Baggy's boss. And West Brom have made their first signing of the window this week as well, Justin. They brought in Northern Ireland international Isaac Price for a reported fee of £2.5 million. The 21-year-old midfielder joins from Standard Liège. He was at Everton before leaving for Belgium in 2023. He's got 18 caps for Northern Ireland and even scored a hat-trick against Bulgaria in October. So I will admit, not someone who was on my radar, Justin, but the more I've read about him since this signing, it seems like an exciting player.
Yeah, again, not on my radar. So I was surprised to see West Brom signing someone called Isaac Price from Belgium. You do a little bit more research and realise he is from Northern Ireland, but also came from Everton's academy as well. So yeah, definitely
he's actually from Yorkshire, but he's
from Pontefract actually, isn't he? Yeah. I did read that. But yeah, again, from what I've read, he's got a box-to-box style, high energy, and if he's displaying this eye for a goal at international level, because 6 goals in 18 games is a very impressive return, albeit one of 3 of those goals came in one game with that hat-trick in October. But he's displaying a bit more of a threat going forwards at international level. I think it's a tidy signing, 21, a fee of around £2.5 million that I've read as well. So yeah, a lot of positives to take from that one.
Yeah. I wouldn't say central midfield is a position that West Brom were particularly needing to strengthen much in this window, but maybe that says a lot about how big a talent they think this lad is and how much they needed to go out and get him. So yeah, I'm excited to see how he gets on, because as I say, not someone who's on my radar, but for them to fork out £2.5 million for someone like him, they certainly rate him, because West Brom aren't in the greatest place financially either, is worth pointing out too. So yeah, very excited to see how he gets on. But anyway, let's go back onto the predictions, and we'll go to my banker, which is Sunderland to win at home to Plymouth on Saturday afternoon. I gave you the chance a few weeks ago, Justin, to ban either of us picking Plymouth's away games, and you said no, so I'll happily take the easy point right here.
I'm in the lead.
You're in the lead, but you could have easily hampered me by not letting me pick this one, but that's by the by. Let me explain why I've gone for it, because it's Sunderland against Plymouth. Okay, that's it. Anyway, I'm joking, of course. Look, it is worth mentioning that Plymouth caused a big upset in the reverse fixture of this game earlier in the season. Sunderland were unbeaten, Plymouth were winless, but then Wayne Rooney's side came out the 3-2 winners in one of the shock results of the season, really. However, it would be astounding if they managed to get anything from this game. They are winless in the league since early November. It's just 3 points won on the road all season, and they're coming off the back of a 5-0 thumping at home on Wednesday night. So not much going their way. New manager Miron Muslic, you all know, is a great public speaker. Not seen a great deal of evidence to suggest he's as good a football manager. And to make matters worse, it now seems as if they're going to have to do this one without their best player in Morgan Whittaker. So when it rains, it blooming pours for sorry old Plymouth. And not even mentioning the fact that they're facing one of the strongest teams in the league. Sunderland weren't great against Derby on Tuesday night, but would have won it 2-0 if it wasn't for a bizarre refereeing decision. And they're still, of course, unbeaten at home and have to be looking at this as an opportunity to absolutely crush Plymouth. So, yeah, this could be a cricket score, this one. And I'm looking at Plymouth, Justin, thinking there's a strong chance they may get cut adrift soon. You could make a fair argument that they're already cut adrift.
I mean, considering how weak they are, you can make that argument, definitely. I have a feeling that 4.5-minute clip of Muslic and that really, really rousing speech is doing some heavy lifting at the moment, because obviously the evidence we're getting it really is the players aren't reacting to that. That's the scary thing. That was a brilliant speech, which the manager came out and said that he wants to make Plymouth a horrible team to play against, conceding 5 goals at home against Burnley, the second game in charge. Isn't being a horrible team to play against, is it? Let's be honest. Too nice. And I think, considering the game plan in which Regis Lebris operates it at Sunderland, where they're going to negate those really obvious, blatant weaknesses Plymouth have, like they play out from the back far too often, Plymouth do, for a team who give you so many goals. And Sunderland are going to want to press them high. And if they can make them play it long, again, I think Sunderland will chew all of that up. It's a terrifying prospect for Plymouth. My heart goes out to every single fan who's going to make this journey, because I think it's the longest journey in the EFL. They're probably going to have to set off at 2 a.m, which is just an ungodly hour to set off for a football match. So
why do they bother? Why do they bother? Just
because they love their football club, and I like generally fills me with so much joy that they do that much, because they are hopeless away. They had the Brentford moment in the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago, but again, that's it. They need to replicate those heroics. But unfortunately, they don't have the biggest hero who had the impact on that game in Morgan Winsker, which again just exemplifies everything. I didn't need to add anything here, because everything you said was right. So Plymouth are terribly hopeless at home, away. Sorry.
Yeah, just a 400-mile journey. That is one way, by the way, so an 800-mile round trip, and it takes just 7 hours to get there, Justin, on one trip. So yeah, good luck, Plymouth fans. It's going to be a long day. I know that much for sure. So hopefully they're rewarded for that journey, but I would be very, very surprised if they were. Sunderland, though, Justin, one of many clubs looking to do business before the window closes. However, they could be holding on to one or two of their own themselves. TalkSport are linking their captain Dan Neil with a move to Everton and West Ham. What do you think about that?
I mean, considering we backed Dan Neil to be capped by England a couple of seasons ago, actually, I think when Sunderland first came up, I think it's a good link. I think he's developed his game a little bit to be a little bit more tempered. I think that he showed a lot of inexperience at times last season, but he's matured brilliantly. His range of passing is still very, very good, and there's a robustness to his game as well, which I think if you're going to make that step up to the top flight, you need. So there's still a lot more developing for him to do, but I think this is as good of indictment as you can on Sunderland's development policy as any, because he's being linked with big clubs. It'd be a huge shame to see him go, but unfortunately, I think any club in the Championship is a selling club. Yeah,
definitely. And you'd be absolutely right there. Since Christian Speakman's come in as the sporting director, he's put a big emphasis on the academy, and Dan Neil's been arguably the biggest success story from the academy so far, with him being a Sunderland fan, born and bred, and for him to captain the team now is just a genuinely brilliant thing to see. He's very much the underrated cog in that Sunderland team as well, isn't he? I don't think he's ready for the Premier League yet. I will say that much. Maybe if he's getting there in a Sunderland shirt, it might be a different set of circumstances, but if he were to make that move to Everton or West Ham, I think it'd be a bit too soon for him. So I think he needs a bit more time to just develop in this Sunderland team. So hopefully that move doesn't happen for all parties, really. But there we go. Just in our minds, 2 bankers for the weekend. And every week we combine these 2 selections with a bet on the full-time result of our game of the weekend to create our very own second tier featured multiple with SBK. But once again, we're including one of our outsiders. And we have once again put it to you, the listener, to decide who else gets included. So this week, we're going for Sheffield United, Sunderland, West Brom, and it's my pick of Oxford. All to win. A £10 bet on our multiple returns £150 thanks to SBK's 20% ACCA boost. So if you make 4 of your own selections, you get a 20% boost on your winnings. T's and C's apply. Over 18s only. And please do gamble responsibly. We'll get on to my outsider pick shortly. But firstly, Justin, reveal what yours is to the people.
Yeah, the people have spoken, unfortunately. I don't know why they wouldn't back the messiah of these picks, like me, just to get ahead.
He has one good week, and he thinks he's the messiah again. It's incredible.
Again, it's never wavered. But I've gone with Blackburn to win away at Bristol City on Saturday afternoon. I was surprised to see the odds stacked so highly against Blackburn here. Rovers haven't won in 3 on their travels, but a good Leeds draw is sandwiched between defeats to Millwall and Oxford. Oxford are on an upward scale at the moment, so you can maybe forgive them for that. Bristol City as well are rolling at home. They've won 3. They've got 3 wins in their last 3, and it feels like they might be hitting that streaky good form we know they're capable of hitting. 3 wins, 3 losses, etc. We know that's the case, which is why sequence-wise we might see a couple of defeats coming their way. But I think John Eustace will set his team up to frustrate, I think, what is a naive Bristol City team. That's absolutely fine, by the way. Bristol City are a young, developing team, and that might play into their hands somewhat. Tough game. Bristol City will have chances, and Blackburn will need to ride their luck. But for me, I've gone with a Blackburn win against Bristol City.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see you go with this, Justin. I think we both rate John Eustace very highly and the job that he's been doing this season, but they have hit a bit of a dip, haven't they? With their only win in their last 7 in the league, coming against Portsmouth at home, which is, we've spoken about it already, a bit of a tap-in, really, because Portsmouth are so shocking away from home. So it's a bit surprising that they have had a bit of a dip. It is worth mentioning they have faced the likes of Sunderland, Leeds and Burnley during this run, but the point still stands because they've also lost away at Oxford, lost at home to Coventry in midweek. So yeah, it's they are going through a bit of a sticky patch, old Blackburn, aren't they? So whether they get back on the horse at Bristol City, I'm not too sure, because Bristol City in a bit of a sticky patch of their own, aren't they? So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, this one. Certainly intrigued to see how it goes, but a potentially strange situation is developing at Bristol City, Justin, because their striker Fally Mayulu, who joined in the summer for £2.5 million, could be leaving just 7 months after moving to Ashton Gate. It's because Stoke are reportedly trying to sign him for the same amount. 7 months, Justin, he's potentially going out the door.
Yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? I think, looking at his statistics and his attributes, he fits coming into a championship team, but he's just not had an impact at all at Ashton Gate. He has only started a handful of games, 3 so far this season, which is quite impressive considering he got 2 goals in his first 2 league games for Bristol City. But I've seen that Stoke are interested in him. They were interested in him in the summer, and there's nothing like Stoke throwing money at a player that just will not work. So for me, that makes sense that they go for him. So yeah, it is a strange one, but it probably just doesn't suit how Liam Manning wants to play. He's got a very, I would say, a very fluid, flexible front line, and Mayulu doesn't really fit that category for me.
Well, Manning's just not seemingly been keen on him all season, which is a strange one. You say he doesn't necessarily fit how Liam Manning wants to play, then why did they sign him? It's a very strange situation, isn't it? But Stoke are clearly after a striker after Tom Cannon left. So it makes sense for them to be searching out for someone like Mayulu. But for £2.5 million, it's difficult to know, really, because we've only seen him so sparingly for Bristol City right now, whether he's worth it or not. So yeah, interesting if that does happen, but how Bristol City will look back on that signing, I'm not really too sure. At least they'll get the money back. That's the main thing we can say, isn't it? Let's go to my outsider for this weekend. It's Oxford to win away at Stoke on Saturday lunchtime. All aboard the Rowett rocket. Yep, here we go. They are ploughing through anyone who stands in their way right now, and I fancy them to do it again this weekend, particularly with the added little spice of Gazza Rowett going back to Stoke, where he is so beloved and well regarded. But it's 17 points from an available 21 since he came in at the Kassam, and a win here, he'll have overtaken Des Buckingham's tally for the season, despite being in charge for 13 games fewer. It's ridiculous, isn't it, this turnaround? But it's showing no signs of stopping. And while admittedly Oxford's results on the road haven't been great this season, they are unbeaten in 3 since Rowett came in on their travels, and will be fancying their chances at a Stoke side who are really struggling. They're still looking for their first win under Mark Robins. He's not really had the desired effect so far in his 3 games in charge, and he wasn't a happy man after their 3-1 loss at Portsmouth on Wednesday. He said his side were bullied, and they're gravitating closer and closer towards the bottom 3. Got a bit of an availability crisis on their hands as well, with 8 players missing for that game against Pompey. And Robbins could really do with at least a performance to show that the results will come with him sooner rather than later. So a big game for them, but they can't underestimate Oxford. Otherwise, they'll just become their latest victims. And Gaza Rowett would love to get one over Stoke once again, Justin.
It's quite incredible that I think if Gary Rowett was never Stoke manager, at any point Stoke have replaced their manager, he would be fucking perfect, wouldn't he? Because he just
Stoke,
had
you mean?
For Stoke, yes.
Okay.
If he didn't have that 6-month spell where it all went tits up for various reasons, not all on Gary Rowett. I disagree with every single Stoke fan who suggests it's all Gary Rowett's fault. But look, that's by the by. Everyone has an opinion. Yes, I think he'd be perfect for Stoke. But unfortunately, everyone has vivid memories, and they do not forgive. But I think the biggest tell in this game is Rowett's record against Stoke is incredible. It is incredible. He's lost just one game against them in 9 in his managerial career. That is the biggest tell that Oxford are onto a result here than anything. Yes, Stoke are poor. Oxford are very good at the moment, but it's all Gaza Rowett's ability to set his teams up against a team that I think he would love. He would love to get a dig in their ribs at.
There was an incredible post on Twitter, Justin, after that Portsmouth-Stoke game on Wednesday. So Stoke defender Ben Wilmot had to go to hospital after that match for an X-ray, and a Portsmouth fan had a selfie with him in A&E, and that same fan just happened to have bet on Pompey to win 3-1. Who scored Stoke's only goal in that game? Ben Wilmot. Great scenes. I mean, will be pointed out, Wilmot didn't look very happy about it in the picture, but, the Pompey fan was happy, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, it's a funny post. I feel for Ben Wilmot, who's not only having to get an X-ray in an NHS waiting room. Footballers have to do this, by the way. They don't get rushed through. They don't get special treatment. They do still have to go through the NHS. I've seen so many stories of footballers having to do that. And he's down in Portsmouth, clearly. And this fan is... it's just bad luck, isn't it? It's just bad luck that he's had to do that, and this fan's bet on the game and it's come in for him. But fair play to Ben Wilmot for assumingly agreeing to take the picture, because he's looking miserable.
yeah. I think he was definitely. It was a consensual picture, put it that way.
His face says, "Fuck off, please."
His face says, "I really don't want to be doing this right now. My team's just lost and I'm stuck in A&E amongst a bunch of Portsmouth fans who are celebrating their team's winning against
celebrating in A&E.
Yeah, the place to celebrate, obviously. It's not a good night if it doesn't go to A&E, Justin. Anyway, those have been our predictions for the weekend, and that means, of course, it's time for this.
All right. Settle down, you lot. It's time for the Craig Bryson pub quiz.
Yes, it is, Mr. Barman, and this is how it works. I'm going to give Justin 6 clues about a Championship player, past or present, each more revealing than the last, and he simply has to guess who it is. They must have made over 200 Championship appearances in their career, and don't forget, the Dexter Blackstock rule is in play. Must be said, neither of us have got one Craig Bryson pub quiz yet. Wrong, have we? We haven't got one wrong yet this season. Still, Justin, we have been smashing you with these all season, haven't we? Could that change today? Let's find out. Do you want the first clue, Justin?
Yes, please.
So, the first clue is this. I've made 238 appearances at Championship level, scoring 30 goals.
Could be a winger. You like to go low with your appearances. So I think this is a player who's appeared in 5 seasons. So I'm going to go with... Someone.
How about... Okay, here we go.
No, you don't interrupt me when I'm trying to pick names out of my head, because there's no names there at the minute.
I mean, you've had a long time to think of one now, so shall we just move on to the next one and just forget this ever happened?
I'll just shout Chris Berg.
Okay, great. It's not Chris Berg, but always good to hear him mentioned. Clue number 2, Justin. I've played for 5 different clubs in the Championship. They include loan spells at Coventry City, Crystal Palace, and Scunthorpe United.
Coventry Palace, Scunthorpe. That's clearly around the sort of 2009, 2010, 2011 seasons. They played in the Championship for those teams, scored 30-odd goals. Scunthorpe, Cov. Owen Garvin.
It's not Owen Garvin, but always good to hear him mentioned. Yeah, let's go on to clue number 3. And as well as making 213 appearances in the Championship, I've made 215 appearances in Leagues 1 and 2, the vast majority of which were for Colchester United.
Oh.
Ooh. Could be Owen Garvin again.
Yeah. That's a good clue, that is, because Colchester were a lot better than they were now back then, because they obviously just come off the back of a couple of seasons in
the Champo?
In the Championship. I'll go Andy Keogh. It's
not Andy Keogh. Can't believe you forgot what the name of the league that we've been covering for 5 years now, but that's fine. You said Andy Keogh, didn't you? It's not Andy Keogh. Clue number 4 is this. I have made by far the most appearances at Championship level for Ipswich Town.
Is this Owen Garvin? No. Ipswich Town. Coventry. Is it Lee Martin?
It's not Lee Martin. But good to hear him mentioned. This is getting interesting, isn't it, ladies and gents? Ooh, okay. Let's see how you get on with the second last clue, Justin. Just 2 clues to go. It's getting a bit tense now, isn't it? Yeah. Clue number 5 is this. I made my professional debut in 2008, scoring the winning goal against Blackburn Rovers in the Premier League for West Ham United.
It's Freddie Sears.
It is Freddie Sears. For a brief moment there, I thought this could be it. This could be the moment where one of us finally gets a Craig Bryson pub quiz wrong this season. But I'm so annoyed that you did it so comfortably as well and confidently, because I thought it may really keep you going until the last clue. But oh well, there we go, Justin. Freddie Sears, what a player.
Yeah, a really good goal scorer at Championship level. You have no idea how generic he is. You have no idea how generic the clues were you gave either. It's not criticism. Like, I think it just so happens that he didn't do anything overly interesting at Championship level, but had a very good goal scoring record at Championship level. Yeah.
I mean, 30 in 213 appearances isn't amazing, but
he was stuck out wide. He was stuck out wide, and he played for that Ipswich team under Mick McCarthy. So I think his goal return actually isn't too bad.
Yeah, he was a decent player, but I saw Ipswich quite a lot around that period, and he was a half decent player. I mean, it is funny how we went through all those clues then, and Owen Garvin was still applicable. I think the one I'm surprised you didn't say was Freddie Eastwood, because I was thinking he's quite applicable for Coventry, Scunthorpe. Did he play for Palace as well? So there's quite a few players who have followed that kind of career path that Freddie Sears has had. The final clue, Justin, you'll be interested to know. Arguably, my most memorable moment at Championship level is being denied a goal, despite it clearly crossing the line, which is, if anyone's not seen it, it's worth searching out. When he was playing for Crystal Palace, he had a shot which obviously went in, but it hit the stanchion at the bottom of the goal and bounced back out. So it looked like it didn't go in, and the referee didn't give it.
Yeah. And I think they got rid of those types of stanchions after that as a result
of surprised.
Confusion. But that is, if we're talking about some of the worst refereeing mistakes at Championship level, that's probably the worst one, because the goal literally hit the back of the net and came back out.
Not as bad as the ghost goal. That's always going to be the worst.
Okay, I get mixed up with them two then.
No, the Watford ghost goal, the Watford Reading ghost goal, which I don't think we need to explain, easily the worst ever, but this is definitely a contender. I will give you that much for sure, Justin. But Freddie Sears, there we go. He is the answer to this week's Craig Bryson pub quiz. And this has been the Second Tier Preview Show, brought to you by SBK. We'll be back again on Sunday, where we'll be looking back at all the weekend's action and also looking ahead to a monumental game on Monday night between Burnley and Leeds United. What a corker that one is, ladies and gentlemen. That is a proper how's your mother. So we look forward to seeing you again on Sunday. But this has been the Second Tier Preview Show, brought to you by SBK. I've been Ryan Dilks.
I've been Justin Peach.
And a big thank you for listening.